Story 1. The driver who didn't need GPS. It was 12:43 a.m. when my phone vibrated against the metal table outside the warehouse break room. The Uber notification came through at the exact same moment. A car horn tapped once in the parking lot. Short, precise, like it already knew I was looking for it. I hadn't requested the ride yet. The app was still open on the confirm pickup screen. The car that pulled up matched the color in the preview. Same model, same first name. I stood there a second longer than I should have. Then I hit confirm. The driver didn't wave. He didn't lean over. The doors unlocked before I reached for the handle. Inside, it smelled faintly like something clean but old, like a rental car that had been sitting in heat all day. The interior light shut off the second I closed the door. "Evening," he said. His voice wasn't unfriendly, just level. "Hey." I buckled in and glanced at his phone mounted near the dash. The map was open, but there was no blue route line yet. Just a blank map centered somewhere near downtown. "Headed to Briarwood," I said. "Off Maple." I hadn't entered the house number. I usually wait until I'm a few blocks away before updating it. Habit. He nodded once. We pulled out before the GPS voice started. The first turn came up at the end of the warehouse road, a left that most drivers miss because it looks like a service lane. He took it without hesitation. The GPS hadn't spoken. I watched the screen. Still no route line, no voice prompt. "You drive this area a lot?" I asked. "Sometimes," he said. That was it. The highway entrance ramp curved up ahead. He merged smoothly, not checking the mounted phone once. Most drivers glance down every few seconds, especially late at night when traffic's thin and exits sneak up. He didn't. The car was quiet in a way that felt deliberate. No radio, no small talk attempt, just the hum of tires against pavement. After a few minutes, the GPS voice finally activated. "In 1 mile, take exit 14B. He moved into the correct lane before it finished speaking. He didn't look at the screen. I noticed because I was watching for it. When we reached the exit, he slowed slightly before the curve, like he knew the pothole near the shoulder. Most people hit it. He didn't. "You live near the park?" he asked. There was no inflection in the question. "Yeah," I said automatically. "There is a park near my street." I hadn't mentioned it. He nodded once, like that confirmed something. We drove another 5 minutes without speaking. The highway lights thinned out the farther we went. The road got darker, fewer cars. My phone buzzed softly in my hand. A work group chat notification. The glow lit up the cabin for a second. In the rearview mirror, I saw his eyes shift up. Not quickly, not sharp, just aware. I looked down at my screen. The app still showed the route. Estimated arrival 1:07 a.m. Normal. Then he took the next exit. The GPS hadn't said anything. I checked the screen. It still showed we were supposed to stay on the highway another 3 miles. "Shortcut," he said quietly. His eyes met mine in the mirror. "You don't like the long way at night." I felt that sentence settle in my chest before I reacted to it. "I didn't say that," I replied. "You didn't have to." The road he turned onto wasn't one I recognized. It was narrower. 2 lanes, no median, no streetlights for long stretches. I've lived off Maple for 3 years. I know the ways home. This wasn't one of them. I kept my voice steady. I usually just stay on the highway. "It's slower this time of night," he said. "Construction." There wasn't any construction. I drive it every day. The GPS recalculated, but the voice never announced it. The map zoomed out slightly, then showed us continuing straight on this side road as if it had always planned that route. I stared at it. The arrival time stayed the same, 1:07 a.m. We passed a row of closed storefronts, all dark. No open signs, no traffic. You work late a lot, he said. Yeah, Wednesdays are the worst. Tonight was Wednesday. I hadn't said what day my shift runs late. I felt something shift, not fear exactly, just a slow internal recalibration, like realizing someone had been standing closer to you than you thought. How long you been driving? I asked. A while. He slowed near an intersection with no stop sign, no cross traffic, just darkness stretching in both directions. Then he turned right. I had never seen that road before. There were no lane markings. The trees leaned close to the shoulder like they'd grown inward over time. My phone signal dropped to 1 bar. Are we still headed to Maple? I asked. Yes, he said it gently, almost reassuring. I tested the door handle beside me. It didn't unlock. Sometimes child lock stays on automatically. I told myself that. Doors unlock when we arrive, he said. I hadn't made a sound. I looked up at the mirror again. His eyes were already there, not staring, just present. We drove another minute in silence. The temperature inside the car felt slightly cooler than before. Or maybe I was just noticing more. Up ahead, I saw a familiar traffic light in the distance, the one near the gas station 2 blocks from my street. Relief came in quietly. He turned left before reaching it, down a narrow side road that runs behind my neighborhood. I've never used that entrance. It's poorly lit and uneven. He drove it smoothly. You prefer coming in from this side, he said. I don't. The houses appeared gradually. Dark windows, porch lights off. My street sign came into view. Maple. He slowed near the midpoint, near my building. Not the entrance. My building. I never entered the number in the app. He stopped directly in front of my driveway. The GPS voice spoke for the first time in several minutes. You have arrived. The doors unlocked with a soft click. I didn't move immediately. How did you know the house? I asked. He looked at me in the mirror one last time. You always hesitate before confirming, he said. Same spot every week. My chest tightened slightly. I don't take Uber every week. I stepped out of the car. The night air felt warmer than inside. The car idled for a second longer than necessary. Then it pulled away. I stood there until it reached the end of the street and turned. When I went inside, I checked the app out of habit. Trip complete. Route summary displayed. It showed a straight line down the highway. Exit 14B. No side roads, no detours. Total time, 14 minutes. I opened the detailed map view. It never left the highway. Not once. If you're still listening, you probably enjoy this kind of quiet horror. Subscribe for more stories like this. Story 2. The Ride That Never Ended. It was 1:18 a.m. when my phone buzzed in my hand, just as I stepped out of the Uber and onto the sidewalk. The driver said, "Take care," and I heard his car shift into drive behind me. But when I glanced down at the screen, the trip timer was still counting. 23 minutes. 24. 25. The app still said, on trip. I stopped walking. The car was still there, headlights on, engine running, parked at the curb in front of my building. I live on the 3rd floor of a small apartment complex just off a main road. Nothing isolated. There's a gas station on the corner that stays open late, a laundromat across the street with security lights that hum all night. It wasn't a remote place. The ride itself had been normal. He picked me up outside a friend's place across town. Clean car. Mid-40s, maybe. Soft-spoken. Light traffic. We talked briefly about road construction and how empty the highways feel after midnight. Nothing personal. No wrong turns. No strange questions. When we reached my building, he stopped in the right place. I said thanks. He nodded. Routine. Except the app hadn't ended the ride. The timer ticked up to 26 minutes. I looked back at the car, still idling. Maybe he forgot to swipe complete. That happens. I walked toward the entrance, trying not to overthink it. The glass door reflected the street behind me. His headlights were bright in the reflection. I pulled the door open and stepped inside. The hallway was quiet. Motion lights flicked on overhead as I moved. My phone buzzed again, still on trip. 27 minutes. The little car icon on the map showed him parked exactly where he dropped me off. I climbed the stairs slowly, watching the screen instead of my footing. With each step, I expected the status to change. Nothing. Inside my apartment, I locked the door and set my keys on the kitchen counter. The room felt still in that late-night way, refrigerator humming, distant plumbing sounds from somewhere in the building. I checked the app again. 29 minutes. The map hadn't changed. His car icon hadn't moved. I walked to the living room window and lifted the edge of the curtain just enough to see the street. His car was still there, headlights now off, but the engine was running. I could see a faint vibration in the glow of the gas station lights down the block. I told myself he was checking something, maybe updating the app, maybe waiting for another ride request before pulling away. 30 minutes. I opened the trip details. Driver name, car model, license plate, all normal. I tapped help. The support options loaded slowly, like the app was thinking harder than it needed to. I selected issue with my ride. The screen refreshed, then returned me to the active trip page, still running. 31 minutes. The car icon remained in front of my building. I stared at the map long enough to notice something subtle. The little arrow indicating the direction of the car wasn't pointing toward the road. It was angled slightly toward my building. That could have been GPS drift. I closed the curtain, walked to the bedroom, set my phone on the dresser, waited. At 35 minutes, I checked again. Still on trip. The icon hadn't moved. My building is old. Sound travels in strange ways through the walls. I stood quietly near the front door, listening. Through the door, I could faintly hear an engine, steady, idling. I opened the Uber app's chat option, typed, "Hey, I think the trip didn't end." No response. 3 dots didn't appear. The message showed as sent. 36 minutes. I went back to the window. This time, when I pulled the curtain aside, his headlights flicked on. Not high beams, just normal. They stayed on. The car did not move. My throat felt dry in a way I hadn't noticed before. I checked the driver profile again. 4.96 rating. Over 2,000 trips. 5 years on the platform. Normal. The gas station sign across the street flickered once. The laundromat lights dimmed slightly as if on a timer. The street got darker. 38 minutes. The car icon shifted slightly on the map. Not forward, not backward. Just a small correction, like someone adjusting the wheel while parked. I stepped away from the window and turned off my living room lights. The apartment went dim. Outside, the car's headlights remained on. Then slowly they turned off. The engine sound stopped. Silence. I held still. 40 minutes. The car icon remained. Parked. I waited 5 more minutes before looking again. When I did, the icon had rotated. It was now facing directly toward the front entrance of my building. The car outside was dark now. I couldn't see inside it. No interior lights, no movement. I told myself I was projecting intention onto a GPS arrow. 45 minutes. Still on trip. I called support. The automated voice answered, asked for details, then transferred me. The line disconnected after 30 seconds of hold music. The app glitched briefly. The map zoomed out too far, then snapped back to my location. The car icon hadn't moved. 50 minutes. I checked the peephole in my door. The hallway was empty. No footsteps, no elevator noise. Back to the window. The car was gone. The curb was empty. But on the map, the car icon was still there, parked, exactly in front of my building. Timer, 52 minutes. I didn't sleep much that night. At 2:14 a.m., the app notification finally came through. Trip complete. Total duration, 4 minutes. Drop-off time, 1:22 a.m. Total distance, 0.3 miles. I opened the trip history. It showed pickup at my friend's house. Drop-off 2 minutes later. No route, no map, no highway, no 30 minutes outside my apartment. The driver profile was still there, but the number of total trips had reset. From over 2,000 to 3. I refreshed the page. The profile disappeared. Driver unavailable. The charge posted to my card was $3.72 for a ride across town. The next morning, when I left for work, I checked the curb where the car had been. There were faint oil stains on the pavement, fresh, and 2 parallel tire marks that didn't lead away from the curb. They stopped exactly where the car icon had stayed on the map, like something had idled there for a long time, without ever arriving. Story 3. There was already someone in the car. It was 1:56 a.m. when my phone buzzed to say, "Your driver has arrived," and I watched a gray sedan roll slowly past me without stopping. It braked 10 feet ahead, then reversed in a straight line back to where I was standing. The passenger side window was already down before I stepped forward. There was someone sitting in the front seat. I hadn't ordered a shared ride. The driver leaned slightly toward the center console. "You waiting on Daniel?" "That's me," I said. He nodded once, like he'd already known. I opened the back door and got in. The interior light flicked on briefly. The front passenger was a man, maybe mid-30s. Still, hands folded in his lap. He didn't turn around when I shut the door. "Oh, he's just riding along," the driver said casually, adjusting the mirror. "Heading the same direction." I checked the app. Uber X, not pool, not share, private ride. The app showed only my name. The car started moving before I said anything. We pulled away from the curb outside the bar. The street was still active, people laughing, rides pulling up, headlights cutting across the sidewalk. Normal late-night energy. Inside the car, it was quiet. No music, no radio chatter, just the low hum of the engine. The front passenger didn't move, didn't check a phone, didn't shift in his seat, didn't clear his throat. I assumed maybe he was a friend, maybe off the clock, maybe something simple I didn't need to question. Still, I glanced at the app again. Just me on the trip. The driver's profile photo showed him alone in the car. We turned onto the main road. The city lights thinned as we moved away from downtown. Street lamps spaced farther apart. Fewer cars. I leaned back and tried to relax. The driver drove carefully. No sudden turns. No speeding. After a few minutes, I noticed something small. The front passenger's shoulders didn't move with the rhythm of breathing. At least, not that I could see. That's not unusual, I told myself. Some people breathe lightly. A few blocks later, the driver checked the rearview mirror. His eyes met mine briefly. Then he adjusted the mirror slightly. Not toward the road, toward the back seat. "So, you live out past Ridgeview?" he asked. "Yeah." It wasn't in the app. I hadn't typed the full address yet, just the street name. I always updated closer to home. He nodded once, like confirming a thought. The front passenger remained still. We stopped at a red light. The glow from the signal filled the cabin in a dull red wash. For a moment, I looked at the side mirror on the passenger door. I could see the driver's face reflected faintly. I could see the back seat. I could see myself. I couldn't see the front passenger. I leaned slightly to adjust my angle. Nothing. The mirror showed the driver's shoulder, the rear window, part of the road behind us. The space where the front passenger should have been was empty. The light turned green. The car moved. I told myself it was just the angle. Mirrors distort things. I'd probably misaligned my view. We drove another few minutes in silence. Then the driver took an exit I didn't recognize. "This isn't the usual way," I said evenly. "Less traffic," he replied. There were no other cars visible in either direction. The road narrowed into 2 lanes bordered by trees. No sidewalks, no houses immediately visible. The app still showed the route, but the blue line didn't match the road we were on. It ran parallel about a quarter mile to the left, like we were driving beside the planned path. "App's glitchy sometimes," the driver said. I hadn't spoken. I felt my phone vibrate softly in my hand. Low battery. The front passenger made a sound. Not a word, just a slow inhale. The first clear sign of movement since I'd gotten in. It wasn't loud, but in the silence it felt close. Too close. The driver didn't react. I watched the passenger's profile carefully now. The side of his face was visible in the dim dashboard glow. His eyes were open, not looking forward, not looking out the window. Angled slightly toward me. I shifted in my seat. His head didn't move, but the angle of his gaze felt fixed. We passed a small roadside sign for Ridgeview, the back entrance to my neighborhood. I've never used that road at night. It's poorly lit and uneven. The driver turned onto it without hesitation. "You prefer this way," he said. I hadn't said that. The houses along Ridgeview are spaced apart, set back from the road. Most porch lights were off. My phone battery dropped to 2%. The app flickered briefly. The route line disappeared, then reappeared. The estimated arrival time stayed the same. 2:14 a.m. We approached the bend near my street. The driver slowed slightly. I looked at the side mirror again. This time I could see the front passenger clearly. But something was wrong. His reflection was slightly delayed. When the car hit a small bump, his actual body shifted a fraction of a second before the mirror image did. Just enough to notice. Just enough to make me stop breathing for a moment. The car rolled to a stop in front of my house. Exactly in front. I hadn't entered the house number. The driver put the car in park. The interior light didn't turn on. "Here you go," he said. The doors didn't unlock immediately. 3 seconds passed, then 5. The front passenger turned his head slowly toward the driver, not toward me, toward him. The driver didn't look back. The doors unlocked with a soft click. I stepped out without rushing, closed the door. The car remained parked, engine running. I walked up my driveway. Halfway to the front door, I glanced back. The car was still there, both men sitting forward. Still. I went inside, locked the door, waited by the window. The car pulled away slowly. No brake lights at the end of the street. Just gone. I opened the app to check the trip summary before my phone died. Trip complete. Driver name listed. Car model listed. I tapped the driver's profile. The photo showed him alone in the front seat. No passenger. Total trips, 148. I refreshed the page. Total trips. Blank. The profile picture disappeared. Driver unavailable. The next morning, I opened the app again. The ride history showed the trip starting and ending at the same location. Pickup, Ridgeview Road. Drop-off, Ridgeview Road. Duration, 1 minute. Distance, 0.0 miles. No map, no route, no highway, just a single point. Later that week, I checked my rating history out of habit. There was a new note under that ride. No comment, just a single line. Passenger observed. I haven't taken a late-night ride since, and sometimes when I pass a parked car with someone sitting in the front seat, waiting, I check the side mirror first, just to see who reflects.